I am Cameron Bixby. I had always said I'm not going to go into the family business. Like, I'm doing this on my own. You need to just say there's two words that all you need to know are Catawba Insurance. But if you're going to work 80 hours a week, why not do it for yourself? But at the core of it, I love learning, like every day it's something new with insurance. I offer the one thing that you hope you never have to use.
What's up, guys? Lift and Love. Lift and Love here. Where did you pull this question from? Why is that? Lift Love. Crochet. We out. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Lifting Love podcast. You are awesome, and today we have a very special guest. Not only a friend of mine, who, first off, I haven't seen in like forever, but you know, it's insurance season, so I get it. She's been a little bit busy writing policies. You are one of the co-owners of Catawba Insurance, my friend Cameron Bixby. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to see you and be here.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I'm really excited to see you too. And I'm just, man, you guys are killing it. I feel like I see or hear about Catawba Insurance like every week.
Yeah, well, there are a lot in the area that have similar names, and that's funny that you say it that way. Somebody recently told me, actually, one of my friends, Robert, with WHKY, he was like, you need to just say there's two words that all you need to know are Catawba Insurance. Like, you don't need all the extras because we have been around 76 years this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So well, first off, how did the business start?
So my granddad worked for People's Bank. He was actually one of the presidents way back when. And there was one in Catawba. When it started in Catawba, before it burned down. People's Bank burned down in Catawba, but at one point that's where he was at. And he saw the need for insurance when he was working every day. So he decided to start it. And when he started it, he worked in it for years before my dad and my mom bought it from him. And my dad died young, with a rare form of dementia. And so that's when I went into the family business. I had always said I'm not going to go into the family business. Like, I'm doing this on my own, yeah, right?
I'm never doing it. Never doing it. But, all right. I'll do it.
But if you're going to work 80 hours a week, why not do it for yourself, right?
100%. So that leads me to my first question. Usually I start with, just for people who don't know who you are, who are you and what do you do? Kind of went right into that, but
okay. So yeah, I am Cameron Bixby. I was originally a Laney, so I was born and raised here in the area. A lot of Laneys out in the Maiden area. I grew up in between Conover and Catawba. Both my parents were actually from Catawba, and both sets of grandparents were from around here. And I moved away, to go to school. I did Charlotte and Australia.
Whoa. Australia?
Yeah, I studied abroad in Australia, luckily. It was something that just kind of happened. Wow. And I worked with a radio station there, 2RRR radio. And so what I got to do was work with new and emerging communities. And it was like, how can we connect our radio station to these new communities in the region in Australia? So not having a car, because obviously I was using public transportation. I had to find my way into these communities and find a way to connect them to that radio station.
Did you so I know in the beginning you said you're not going to do the family business.
Yeah.
What led you to where you are today? Is there like a specific story or point where you were like, I'm going to do this?
In college, I was taking business classes, and I was having the hardest time with some of them. And my mom was like, I'm not sure I understand why we're still doing business. Like, it's clearly not the numbers portion of it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, why did I not look at? So I looked at communications, and it's just like it's where I fell, what I was good at. Mm-hmm. But I graduated in December of 2008, which was like one of the worst times to try to find a job.
Oh wait, okay, so I'm super young, so don't mind me. Oh wait, it's the housing crisis, right?
It was multiple things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it was hard to find a job anywhere. Mm. I did go in and like do some fiddle farting around at the office, but like let's be honest, I was not of value.
Yeah, you were not there long term, or did you? You didn't want to be there long term.
I was like good at helping make copies and build stuff for my dad, but like
that's not it.
I was not at all what I felt like I could have been. So I took a temporary job with a friend's aunt and was in staffing for a while and really, really enjoyed being able to work with the companies and be out in the community seeing what the businesses do and how they make it and helping find people that filled their jobs, right? That filled those roles.
So you were a recruiter.
I was a staffing area manager. So, yeah, I started as a recruiter and just kind of fell into a role where I had an office in Claremont. It was really nice to be able to work with our community and open an office there and also in Statesville. So I got to see a lot of businesses I didn't know about and learn more behind the scenes of kind of really what drive the community. So in getting to do that, I got to do stuff with the chamber, and that's what really helped me connect, like, this is why the wheels turn here. Like, these are all the players behind the scenes, and this is how they learn and educate themselves. And then it was, how do I get a seat at this table? How do I get a seat at a table that's going to help me continue to grow? I didn't necessarily know that I want to be in insurance. I still think.
Why does it sound like there's some doubt in your mind?
Every insurance class you go to, they'll say, like, how many people like grew up wanting to be an insurance agent or in insurance at all? And nobody. No, you know, like it is. you could hear a cricket in the room.
It
is the most. It's the career with the most people that nobody grew up wanting to be in insurance, and everybody that's in it likes it. It's a great career. You can truly do so many things. I had a friend that grew up with me in high school. And my dad had a lot to do with him growing up, and he went into insurance, and he is killing it in Charlotte on the company side. So not like he doesn't work with us; he works like with a major company.
That's awesome.
But it's nice to just see that there's a huge career in this industry, in this field, where people can make a great living. It's just not something you know about until you kind of like stumble into it.
So did you, when you worked with the friend of the family friend, and then how did that first initial conversation go to be like, you know what, actually, let me try the family business out? Yeah. What was that conversation like?
It was not a pleasant one, to be quite honest.
Wasn't pleasant because like you didn't want to do it, or because they wanted you to? Was there like friction there?
No, it was. I was scared in that role. I climbed the ladder super quick. And I was invited to corporate and to sit in on meetings that nobody my age had been a part of. And it was great.
And you were how old at the time?
20, let's see, probably in my late 20s.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so I've got,
super young, yeah.
2 offices with probably 11 immediate employees. But under those 11 employees, we had like 300 people out on job sites around the clock, 24 hours a day. So if something happened to one of those employees, it was myself or my team that had to go get them and take them to the hospital and make sure they were taken care of. It was a lot for somebody that had not been in a role like that.
And you had zero experience at the time.
Zero in that world, for sure. I mean, I had been in leadership roles in college with organizations I was involved with, but not like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. So it turned out with my dad getting sick, it was somewhere where I needed to be. The last month that he was alive was to be with him.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the company was doing some transitioning. And because they needed me gone and I needed to be gone, it was one of those things where there's no questions asked. We just need to part ways. We both felt like it's a good time for me to go. I think emotionally, I was not at my best because I was trying to be... when your mom and your dad pull up and your dad's crying because he doesn't know where he is, your brain goes to that. It doesn't go to whatever your career is that day.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
And I could cut it off and I could do my job, but where did I need to be? And I felt like God led me to, I need to be with my family.
And then, so how long after you and the other company, you guys parted ways, did you like jump right into insurance with your family, or was it kind of like you had some downtime? What was that like?
Well, my mom had handled a lot of the paper taxes and paperwork and some of the accounting, the stuff the stuff that I knew I absolutely should not be doing. So I did step in doing some of those things for her, and you know, it was not like it was an 8 to 5 for me by any means, but yes, I stepped into some of her things because there was no way she was going back to work. She was home with him. It was we kept him at home. Yeah. And you know, it was the right place after he passed away and I got her where she needed to be. It was the right place for me to just kind of fall into the mix there, and I did. And the beauty of it is that the 9 people that we had there, my dad hired just about every one of them. Actually, He hired every one of them, and we like to say that he hired them when they were babies. So they learned so much from him. Yeah. And so I really got to learn from him through them. Both my brothers were already there, and it was definitely like working in a family business is something I would never have expected it to be the way it is. It's one of those things where it can be a good day or it can be a bad day, and you have to figure out what you want it to be, right?
Kind of more like attitude over like anything else. Yeah,
you just have to know, you know, like my older brother is really good at, you know, like we have a team to support. My dad and my mom were always like that. Like if for some reason we're in the red, my dad would put his paycheck on the table and say, we're going to take care of our employees. You know, there's always employees first. And that's kind of how you have to realize, like, you got to leave the family stuff at the door because there's people's lives and livelihoods here. And people will always, they ask me, you know, like, how are you everywhere? Or you're always doing this, that, and the other. You know, when you're working for other people, you might own your business or be someone that's, you know, in management or ownership. But when you're working for those people you pay. Like, if I don't bring home this sale today, I can't pay their paycheck. You know,
which then leads to they can't feed their family because we can't afford to pay them.
And there are people that say, you know, like, I want to retire. When your dad hired me, I've loved this place and I want to retire here. Well, then it's now on us to make sure they're able to do that, you know?
So 2 follow-up questions to that point. First off, how hard is that when somebody comes up and is like I want to retire here? Because that's not like... First off, it's a great thing. It's probably an amazing feeling to have such a great company that's been such a legacy and everything that your mom and your dad built it to be. Right. But like, also there has to be like that pressure that it kind of just turns the dial up a little bit. Yeah. And it's like, oh wow, like I really have to hammer home like this sale or this project or whatever that looks like. How do you internalize that? I
mean, like I do not ever want to be that salesperson that like knocks on your door so many times that you're like, go away. But I also, if there's somebody that I've built a relationship with in the community and I know I have an opportunity for them and they know they want to give me a shot, but we just never get the things lined up, I'm going to knock on that door again. If it's going to give us an opportunity to do business together, that's good business. Like if it's not the right business or you have a relationship, I think loyalty is huge. You have a relationship with your agent, I don't want to break that up. Yeah. What I want you to do is keep my name in your pocket in case something happens. Your agent goes out of business. Yeah. You know.
You don't like how you're treated if something happens.
Yeah. You know, like loyalty is huge to me. So I don't want to break up. If you're married to your agent, boy, you keep that. You know. But if something happens, I want you to know that I'm back here and I can give us a shot. You know. Yeah. And it is, to answer your question, it is huge. Luckily, I still feel like I have a little safety net because Patrick and Taylor both were there before me. So I feel like it's nice to be able to have 2. I can't imagine having to try to do it by yourself. But I do continue to learn from a lot of leaders in this community about how to create a network of people that can help you, you know, bounce ideas. I have some wonderful people that I can call and say, I need this. Tell me who to go to for this. Or I need this. You know, to know that there's a network of people that would drop what they were doing at their job to help me keep mine afloat or vice versa makes you feel a little bit better, you know. 100%. To know, you know, I'm not in this by myself, even though I don't feel like I can go to whomever works in my office for help, you know, like.
But it's good. I mean, you have your brothers.
You do absolutely.
Do you think that you would have been in how long? First off, so full time, like back from the other company. When was that exactly?
Like 11. I think this is my 11th year.
So do you think if it was just you, like let's say you're handed the keys and it's just you by yourself back then, when you guys partnered up, do you think you would have been in it as long as you've been in?
Yes and no. I think there's a lot. Still, I think back at conversations I had with them in the office. I thought I knew my stuff, boy. Like, I was like, oh, I got an idea. And now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I was so stupid. I listen to a ton of podcasts and a lot of insurance agents that are paving the way. So I lean on people really outside the office. Mm-hmm. Do I think I could have run the office by myself? Absolutely not. I think that we're lucky that in North Carolina there's an association, Independent Insurance of North Carolina, and it is one of the best in the United States.
That's awesome.
And the tools and the resources, whenever you don't have something in-house, Patrick and I both are really, we believe in the association. My dad was actually one of the youngest presidents of the association back when he was alive. He was huge, integral with the association and all it does for the agencies that support it.
Yeah.
And so Patrick and I have followed suit with that. We feel like being involved with that, we learn and have resources and tools that we wouldn't otherwise have. So that's another, I would have leaned on more of those kind of people. But yeah, it's one of those things where now that I've gotten an insurance, I find that there's a love for it. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Like at all?
No. I mean, I enjoy graphic design and communications and events and that kind of thing, but at the core of it, I love learning. Like, every day it's something new with insurance.
I do want to talk about your dad real quick, if you don't mind talking.
Yeah,
if you don't mind talking about him. How important was everything that he did and how long has it been since he passed?
Let's see. He passed right before we found out we were pregnant with my daughter, and she's about to be 10. So it's been about 10 years.
Wow. Well, first off, I'm sorry for your loss. I know.
Thank you.
I couldn't even imagine. But how much did he teach you, and how much are you just excited to be able to further his legacy now as a partner? Because you didn't jump in as a partner. It was a little bit of a process.
Yeah. Well, in essence, my mom owns the agency still. My brothers and I run different parts of it. So my dad, my mom was not, she went to school and had a master's in counseling. Oh, wow. She worked in the school system for quite a while. And then she went to work with Dad, and he was the kind of person, he went to school for 3.5 years. He put himself through school, working 3 jobs, and went to school in 3.5 years in college while playing sports. Wow. And then, he worked hard, and he worked hard to prove to my grandfather that he deserved a chance to buy the business. Right. Wow. So once he did, Crystal, our office manager, she still tells us, your dad was not a salesperson, but boy, could he sell. Like, when you got to put it all on the line, to produce for your people, he did. Yeah. And that's what I just keep telling myself. I might not be a salesperson. I feel like I'm an introvert at heart. I've had to force myself to be an extrovert.
Which is, first off, the wildest statement I've ever heard in my life, because you are the furthest thing. When I think of introvert, it's the furthest thing. But we'll get to that here in a minute.
It's one of those things. I was blessed. My dad was more quiet. Mom, super outgoing, lively, all the things, wow. Right? But he paved the way. And I didn't learn a lot about the agency or the business from him. I learned life lessons, things I can remember him telling me. They always let me play sports and let me do as much as I could without having to work in high school. And they said, as long as you keep your nose clean and your grades up, we'll continue to pay for you to be able to do those things, right? Mm-hmm. So I played sports and I stayed active in student council and all those things. And I would have hard times, and he would say, when you sit on a pedestal, people are going to try to knock you off. So, okay, I understand that. Like, if you work hard to achieve something, there's always going to be somebody that may feel some kind of way, and you just got to keep your eye on what your goal is.
Hey, that's good.
And I will never forget. There are things like that, and he taught me how to drive, and those life lessons, riding around our neighborhood for hours on end in the evenings, more than anything in the agency. But in the agency, I get to learn, all kinds of things, and it all comes from the girl saying, your dad would X, or your dad would say Y, and I'm like, okay, I can see where he would say that. And I use that as guiding principles or guiding things that help me in today's insurance world, which was not his insurance world, because it changes so crazy every year. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's so cool, like that. Like your dad had like that much of an impact, and it's like most of what you learned from the agency wasn't even from him, the person who owned the agency,
Right?
And it's like through the people who were essentially like, I don't want to say minions. That's a really harsh word, but like, or like the people who like he like cloned to be able to do the job that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Catawba Insurance real quick. What do you guys offer? What do you guys do? I know insurance is such a broad term because there's a million different types of insurance.
Right.
So what type of services do you offer?
Well, I always, at any chamber functions or any events I'm at, I like to say, I offer the one thing that you hope you never have to use. It's something that nobody wants to talk about. Who likes to pay insurance? Not me.
Not me.
Right? But the reality is it's really just a transfer of risk. So if you have risk, you can not have insurance and face losing everything, right? Or you can buy in the transfer of risk and let us help you support that risk. And if something were to happen, we help you build back. So it's hard. It's definitely an industry people don't love, but we are not in it necessarily to knock on every door and sell every policy. We're in it to help you create something that will help you save your future if something crazy were to happen. So we do home and auto, and all the things that surround that. Who knew what an umbrella was? I didn't whenever I started in the insurance world, and now I have an umbrella because if those 15 cheerleaders that came over to hang out and spend the night break their leg or fall down and crack their head open, I don't have the money to pay for them a lifetime of getting their head fixed, right? But I have an umbrella policy now, and I bet you that $200 a year is going to help cover me if somebody does get critically injured in my yard.
Wow.
So
like the thing. Okay, so I'm very much a person who, and I feel like most people are, where it's like insurance is like this thing where it's like you pay for it even if you don't use it, but when you do use it, usually it's a headache to use, and also your policy usually goes up. So like, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So if you get online and you buy something inexpensive and you think you're covered and you have a claim, you probably are going to have that experience. If you go in and sit down with somebody, 90% of the time, the claim should be covered because you have somebody. We are an independent agent. Okay. So that means we go to bat for the people that are our clients with our companies. We're the middle person. So our goal is whatever company we put you with to know that they're a good company and they're going to pay the claims. And when we have somebody that died on a job site, we can walk out there and hand a check to that family because they were insured. Workers' comp. So that's the workers' comp side of it.
Yeah.
But yes, if you call us, I have a business here in the area. It was one of my first businesses I ever wrote. And I didn't have her for a year before she had a broken window by somebody that was looting downtown.
Oh my goodness.
Our intention is not to make you wait on Saturday night till we come in on Monday morning. We're going to pick up our computer and we're going to sit there and work you through it and calm the tears. Now, is the company going to come back and tell us the final, yes, she's covered for this, or no, only partially covered? Yeah, they're the ones doing it. But we're the people that are going to hold your hand through it and help you get the best we can for you out of the situation. So in that, just to answer your question, we do commercial insurance, all the things. So your property, your autos, your workers' comp, your group health. So if you have more than 3 employees, we do group policies. All the things, anything.
So you guys are kind of like the middleman negotiator of like making sure all that risk is not on the business or the person or the household or whichever.
So I've worked with companies in the area, and they're so focused on the bottom line of what they're paying for insurance, but they might have one policy with this company and this agent, and one policy with this company and this agent, and one over here. Well, you have gaps in coverage. Like this agent's going to say, nope, it's their job, and this company's going to say, nope, it's their job. So our goal is to help you bring it all under one roof and let us identify where your exposures are and go from there. I mean, like, who knew when I came into the insurance world that dogs, trampolines, and pools would be 3 things that if you tell me you have one of those, it makes me think about whether we need to quote your insurance or not, because I know it's going to be higher. Those are
Wait, hold on. Someone having a dog?
The types of, if you have an aggressive breed type of dog, how many times have you seen so-and-so, the postal, he truly got bit by that dog? Like, that legit happens, right? So the insurance company, if we're going to have to pay out, then I'm not going to pay for your Rottweiler, right? Or I'm going to make sure that you pay enough insurance to cover the medical bills of the person he bites. That's where you have to think through. Same with if you have a pool. If it's fenced, good deal. If it's trampoline, if it's fenced, good deal. You don't have it fenced and some child can come and fall in and drown, your insurance is likely going to take the hit for that, right?
Wow. So that's like a weird thing. So like when I was younger, there was like this, we had my sister like broke something. I don't know if it was like her leg or something, but she couldn't go to school. And it was a while ago now that I'm thinking about it. She was like in 8th grade. Anyway, and she had a tutor come to the house, and the tutor like put her hand down and like sat on her hand and like broke her hand on like the dining room table chair, and she like sued my parents. I was like, that's unbelievable. I didn't even know it was a thing.
And so even if your parents won, they had to pay for the legal, right? They had to pay for somebody to fight that for them. That's what the umbrella is for.
And so when you say umbrella policy, you're talking about like having everything
it extends over and above whatever your basic policies are. Wow. And that, I mean, okay, great. I have good coverage for my home and my auto, but I'm telling you, if a child on Halloween runs into my yard and my dog that's not a Rottweiler eats them, my umbrella is going to help kick in to pay the fees, whether it be the medical bill or the lawyer or whatever, if I get sued.
Wow. I'm going to be honest. This is why it's so cool to have these conversations, because I didn't know any of that was what I thought it was just like you got into a car accident or something happens on your house. Like that's where insurance comes in. I didn't know it was like other people or other things. So
if I had to make a recommendation, an umbrella is maybe $200, $150 a year to give you an extra $1 million or $2 million in coverage if something like that were to happen.
But that's so it's $200 extra a year on top of what you're paying.
Yes.
Okay. Because people are going to start flocking if it's
yeah. Normally you have to have underlying policies to get an umbrella.
So you have to have something with the insurance agency, so then they can offer that on top of. Yeah.
So think about, okay, for the state minimum limits for auto right now is 50, 100. Yeah. So like 50 property damage. Think about that kind of thing. To get an umbrella, you had to have 250, 500. So you have to up your limits. We did it. Yeah. Now, we may never have to use it, but I feel
if something were to happen.
I feel more comfortable knowing it's there.
Yeah.
It was hard on my pocket in the beginning, but it was easier as I started to budget it in, you know. And there's umbrellas for commercial lines too. And it's huge. It's huge. $5 million umbrellas. You got somebody on a job site.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's the cool thing. I mean, again, I think insurance is something that is so like in society so looked down on.
Right.
That people like we were just having a conversation before we even jumped on the podcast where it's like people would rather look at if I'm going to pay for insurance, I'd rather pay $150 compared to $250, even though, yes, I may be paying $100 more a month, but it's a way better policy. God forbid something happens to me or my car, because, I mean, accidents happen all the time. North Carolina is one of the highest motor vehicle accident states in the entire country.
Yep.
So it's like, how do you like talk somebody even through that?
Well, that is one of the things my dad did teach our people in office. You sell the people that you work with every bit of insurance you can for what they can afford. And if they can't afford more right now, you tell them this is available to them when they can afford it. Because if something happens and you didn't tell that person that was available, you're now in an E&O opportunity. Like, you can get sued because you didn't share. There's an umbrella out there for people that have those kind of liabilities. Why'd you not tell them about that? Well, they wanted the bottom line coverage. No. Our goal is to make sure you're aware of the things that we can offer you, and your goal is to purchase what you can afford. So, you know.
So give all the options, and then at the end of the day, if you want the bottom line, the cheapest thing, that's completely up to you. But I'm going to show you everything you got.
We're gonna tell you your options, but I will tell you, he made it. we're not allowed to sell the bottom line coverages
Yeah.
because he knew even back then it's not enough to cover somebody. And when they come in here and say, I got in a wreck and I've been paying you insurance all this time and it didn't cover the fees that I'm having to pay and they're coming to take my house, no, we're not doing that. Like, this is our minimum limits. So yes, they can go down the street and get a cheaper policy, but we're not going to sell below these limits because if they have an accident, it's not going to take care of them.
So basically upping the quality of service that you're able to provide gives the customer an
Right.
10 times better experience.
So then you turn around and you think about, okay, what your service is, what you do every day, is it a value? And if it is a value, do you charge for it to be a value? Our goal, because we don't make that decision, the companies make the pricing and we just sell the price, right? But we're not there for you to come shop bottom line. We want to give you a value that is truly there to take care of you, just like you go to work every day to provide a value. You know, like, don't come at me saying, yeah, can you come create me graphics for $5? No. Like, I can't. And it's the same with insurance. I want to help you, but I want to help you help yourself. And I don't want you coming back to me next year saying, I wrecked my van with 15 people in it and I need you to help me $15 million.
Where do you want me to pull it from?
You took the lowest policy option. You know what I mean? Like, insurance can be good, and it truly is. Like with the floods, we've been trying to tell people actually for years. They came from our independent insurance agents and said, everybody lives in a flood zone. You might not live in a flood zone,
But it could happen.
but even if it's a 25-year flood,
Yeah.
had you had flood, which is not on a normal homeowner's policy, you paid for something that you prayed you never had to use. But look, if you
Now
paid,
you're using it.
yeah. So I don't have flood on my home, but I heard that on a podcast 2 days ago, and I was like, why have I not added flood to my home?
Did you? Are you gonna?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
It's in the.
You've already put it on? And,
No.
Oh, I was
No.
going to say, I was like, yeah, that's
It
a
is-
quick turnaround.
Yeah, it is gonna have to happen. And my husband
Yeah.
looks at me like, "What are you doing?" You have to learn from these catastrophes. And when Brock Long used to come speak for Hickory Young Professionals, he was the former FEMA director, right?
Yeah.
So he knows about how FEMA operates in and out. And he said, FEMA cannot always handle the entirety of the situations. The community has to prepare themselves prior to any incident like what we just had happen, knowing that FEMA is there to step in and help, but you can't not prepare yourself for something thinking there's always going to be somebody, right?
Yeah.
And now I follow him, and like the last time there was a storm, he was out there testing out like one of his generators or something that he had, and I was like, I got to get that generator. Like anything he does, I feel like he knows, you know, you can't rely on everybody else. You have to be prepared yourself and then be pleased if somebody steps in to help you instead of the other way around.
That's such a good way of putting it. It's so cool. I mean, again, I think most of the time people also have this weird relationship with insurance because there aren't a lot of people like you where it's like, we truly want the best. There's a lot of insurance people who are just salespeople and they're not like, this is what's best for you. It's like, hey, they just need to make a sale, and whether you get the bottom line or the best line, they're making commission, right? Yeah. But for you, it's like, I want to genuinely build a relationship, and like, I'd rather have a 10-year customer than a 1-year customer.
Yes.
Because I want to grow and work with you and help you. God forbid something like this happens, like what's happened in Hickory and all Western North Carolina. But I really want to just switch the page because, I mean, there's just so much when it comes to you and to talk about. And you actually were talking about it before with Hickory Young Professionals, and then you said it earlier when you were like, people feel like you're everywhere. You literally are. How do you do it? I mean, you do everything.
It was one of those things. I got to be in the community with my prior job, and when I came, seriously, when I say I'm an introvert, I introverted for a while, and it was hard for me to get back into the community. But I went to something the chamber was having, knowing it was going to be a value because it always is. And once I did, somebody approached me about being an ambassador, and that opportunity to be an ambassador for the chamber and really like have a reason to go into these new business and support and be cheerleader for new businesses, then just other doors open, and they're like, oh, we're getting ready to start this organization. Would you like to be a part of it? I continued to find places where I felt like I could add value. And if I felt like I could add value to something and I felt like I was learning from the people I was surrounded by, I continued to insert myself there and hope that the relationships down the road, were something that might be beneficial for me in the sales game. But I was still learning how to sell, right? So I'm a community. Our goal in the agency is to continue to be community activated, right? So I'm VP of community relations. So I'm out intentionally to be in the community and be visible so people understand that Catawba Insurance, 2 words is all you need to know, right? Like,
is that your slogan?
No.
Oh, it should be.
It should be.
That would be such a good slogan.
Yeah.
Catawba Insurance. The only 2 words you need to know.
Main Street and Catawba. Don't add any of the extras, right? But it's not that. We do seriously have people call and be like, I need you to do so-and-so on the policy. And my brother, the other day, he took a call. He's like, dude, I don't have your insurance. And he said, are you serious? I thought all this time I had it with you. And it was, so like, that you have to put a face to it sometimes. Yeah. And that's what my goal has been. But now that I'm really digging into the sales side of things, I'm trying to be more intentional about leveling up and, maybe trying to guide myself to the size accounts that I feel like are most beneficial for our team and to continue to grow what we're doing in Catawba.
Yeah. And then, so you also do Hickory Young Professionals. I know you're,
I'm
as
starting
you like to say,
close.
you're aging out.
I am.
You're kind of helping the new generation come in. How long have you been in Hickory Young Professionals?
Back whenever I got back involved in the community, probably 6 years ago, Lindsay Kiesler introduced me to Ethan Schrantz, who is just an amazing human. And he and I kind of started doing some stuff with Hickory Young Professionals, and it was like the sky was the limit. We would create stuff, and people would just come. And, you got people sitting at the table with us, and we were just like, what else can we do to create? So at that time, Hickory and the Chamber, Hickory MSA, I should say, not just Hickory, but, Hickory MSA extends across all 4-county region here in our area. Yeah. So that region and the Chamber were really working to put us on the map. They were looking at other communities and saying, what can we do to draw young professionals back here to fill these jobs that we have, right? Well, Hickory Young Professionals is one of those places where people, if they see that there's a group for young professionals that they can plug into, that's more viable reason for somebody to come take a job here because they have a place to plug in. Yeah. So we felt the call, like, Hickory Young Professionals has already started. We can just continue to grow it and make a place for young professionals to come connect. And that's what we did.
And what was so when you got into it, there was obviously you're going to use it to further your career, not only just building relationships, because I feel like that's really again, for me, someone who doesn't come from the business world, who created a business figuring something from nothing. Literally something from nothing. I didn't know networking groups existed. I didn't know the Chamber of Commerce existed. This is all stuff I've learned over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So not only are you looking to build relationships and network with people to hopefully exchange services, or even just to have, like you said, someone in your back pocket to be like, oh, you need so-and-so, you need X, Y, and Z. Here's a business card. I know this person. I can vouch for them. But how important was that, especially when you started, or when you when everything started with the Hickory Young Professionals 6 years ago, was that to build your arsenal of network? Because what is it? What's the saying? Your net something is your net worth. Your network is your net worth.
That's right.
There we go. I couldn't figure it out.
That's right. You got it. I didn't go into it for sale. I did from the company side. I was like, yeah, I'm going to meet people and try to sell. But really, my heart was in creating something that was good. Yeah. And the networking part, once I got back into the talking to people and not feeling shy to I'd rather sit behind my desk, Yeah. If you can introduce people that can help each other, it's amazing to watch what can happen, right? So that was what I was just continue to try to connect and introduce people. And I guarantee you, I've introduced people to the same person 3 or 4 or 5 times, and they're like, you literally, we hung out, the 3 of us last week. But whatever, if you didn't know that person, you would have appreciated it.
If you didn't know them, now you know them.
Now you do. So I just think sometimes that's the best thing I could offer is an introduction, because my business was not necessarily one where we could turn around and make a donation somewhere every day. We are obviously a small business, and learning how to navigate new taxes and all the things, right? Like, so if I can help you, it's going to be that way. It's going to be, who can I introduce you to? Who can I connect you to? How can I give and pour into you and your business without monetarily giving and pouring into your business?
So what would you tell someone who maybe has never heard of Hickory Young Professionals, what they could expect, or why they should at least give Hickory Young Professionals a shot? Because it is an awesome group. But I was part of it. I know I've been so in and out because life has just been. Woo.
I have too lately, but I'm with you.
Past 6 months, I've been so all over the place. But what can someone expect going to Hickory Young Professionals?
So to walk into an organization where you can immediately help make change is rare, right? But Hickory Young Professionals was created by people that are already at the table, quote unquote, the table, right? They respect what Hickory Young Professionals' goal is because they helped create it.
Yeah.
So if you step into an organization like Hype and you say, I want a chance to sit at that table, I want to meet those key players, you're literally 2 steps away. You walk in, you help create something of value, you sit on the leadership, and you help find a way to make a place for young professionals to gather and grow, and you're already starting to get to meet some of those key players in the industry. But if you're not actively involved in an organization, it's that much harder to get there, right? So
Hype is really more so to help you know people, to get your foot in the door, to eventually get your seat at the table.
Right. It's like level up one way or another.
Yeah.
You can level up by coming to the events and you can check in and check out, or you can level up by trying to become a leader in its own right. And by doing that, you join an organization, you help it grow, you find ways to create events that are good for young professionals here in the area. And in doing so, you get to meet some amazing people that eventually is going to pay off,
100%.
It's, you have to take pride in every step of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, people are going to see that you're there just for certain things. But day in and day out, if you love where you live and you want, to see it be a great place and more young professionals come here and grow, what we have, it is a wonderful organization to help, because you can immediately step in and offer an opinion that's taken into consideration and help create stuff. Like, it's just so quick to be able to create change.
It's not like you're talking to one person who talks to another, and then they maybe get an answer, like most organizations.
Yeah.
I do want to jump into the town of Catawba. You do so many things. Just want to put that out there. So many things. I don't know how many titles you have officially. It'd be really scary to know. It's like the receipt paper of like Extreme Coupon. You ever seen that show? And it's just that's your job title list.
I love it.
So the town of Catawba, first off, someone who has been there multiple times, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's upgrowing. Compared to probably what it was 10 years ago, probably it's like night and day, right?
Yeah.
First off, what do you do for the town of Catawba? And second off, what does the future look like for the town of Catawba?
I help with social media and I help with downtown events. My brother is a council person there in the town of Catawba, and I always try to help him with his events. Chase Weinberger, who is the manager in the town of Sawmills, sought me out to come help with events back when there was no events happening a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I will remember him coming into my office and introducing himself and saying, Patrick thought you might be good to help with downtown events. And I was like, I'm going to kill my brother. But it was such a huge, I loved it. I got to work with people at Town Hall and with citizens, and we created some amazing events. It has now kind of come full circle as Chase has moved on to Sawmills and we've had new managers. They've continued to create what they feel like is good for the town based off what they see daily, because I'm not a full-time, town employee. So they know what kind of businesses are wanting to come, and they know what kind of housing developments and such are coming, and what's most important for the town. And I just am a behind the scenes helping create those things. And I have honestly introduced many of those businesses to the chamber, and it's been beneficial for them. And I think that's probably, you kind of got into the mix through that as well. There are the coffee shop and the businesses that I'm telling you.
Love 'em. Oh my goodness.
There's so much happening, and they just added a couple hundred houses and are adding more houses. I mean, literally like so fast.
What do you think the next like 5 years look like for, like, how much do you think it's going to change in the next 5 years? Do you think it'll be recognizable?
Yeah, because I think you still have people there that were there, you know, like when my granddad was here. And quite honestly,
That's fair.
They don't want it to completely be turned into something different, right? There are people in Hickory that are going to say, where is Catawba? Like, dude, it is in your county. But it's okay. You've never been there. You should maybe consider driving to see it. We see a lot of the Sherrills Ford, Denver people kind of crossing over, Statesville. A lot of people know Town of Catawba for the most recent events that they've had, which is great. But there are businesses. There is a new restaurant coming. He's got another location in another municipality, and we're super excited to see the growth that is. They're being very intentional about the growth because they don't want it to just turn into something else. But like I mentioned, Chase always said, one thing we have that other people don't have is this main street, this downtown Main Street feel. So I think that all the managers and the council members are aware of that, and they want to bring growth, but they want to be strategic about it. And you know, I'm not a paid employee, so I'm on board to support however they need me to as a volunteer.
And listen, if they're bringing more houses, just more umbrella policies.
I know. Look, I hadn't even gone knocking on those doors.
If you're watching this, she's coming for you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit more about Cameron Bixby.
Okay.
So, like, you do all these things. Do you ever have time for, like, yourself, your family? You're a mom, a husband, a cheer mom, a dance mom, whatever you want.
Yeah.
You do so many different things.
So my husband is in law enforcement, and if you ask him straight to his face, matter of fact, somebody did at the basketball game last night, where do I know you from? Are you a police officer? He's like, no. Like, honest to God, he will lie up one side, down the other, because he doesn't like being recognized. We don't get to do a whole lot here in this community together. Very rarely, right? So being a cheer mom has given us a chance as a family to travel, you know, not too far, but to have time together. We've really dug into being able to do that. I have had multiple people here in the community that I trust that have helped me on my journey, and some of which are like, dude, you need to scale it back. And I don't disagree, you know, like my kids are getting old enough that now it's time for me to focus on them. And hence the reason it's, you know, I'm here for hype. I'm here for the chamber. I'm here to help anybody that needs it, that if you call on me, let me help you. In person, am I going to be there as much? Probably not, because I am trying to focus more on my mental health and my physical health and my families and my faith. You know, like this year was the first year that it was nice to be able to say, I don't care what we're doing for New Year's. We as a family are going to work on vision boards. We are going to stay at home and eat cookies and eat popcorn and watch movies. You know, like, and when 12 o'clock rolls around and we've been snoring for 3 hours, I'm not going to feel bad about it. We can watch it on tape tomorrow. So
how much has that mindset changed in the past couple years? Was it like a kid thing? Was it like a life thing? Like, what changed that mindset?
I think that I could feel myself mentally and physically suffering. Like, I just feel stretched. You know what I mean? Like
you're going all these different places.
Yeah. And you know, like my coworkers laugh when we go to eat somewhere. They're like, whose car are we going to ride in? I can't believe you let people eat in your car. And I'm like, are you serious right now? We live in my car. Like,
if it's not a cheer event or a sporting event or something, or a town event.
That's right. So I am there are conversations like that make me think I really got to scale it back. You know, like we need to have more meals. And when your 9-year-old comes home and is like, can I set the table? I really miss having family meals. That's when it's like, all right, gut check.
Yeah.
I need not have her out at meetings every other night of the week. And I need not, you know, like, can I make this a phone call instead of an in-person meeting? Do I have somebody that can attend this for me where I can be with my family? So I really, in being a better mom, better to myself, but also to my family, scaling it back has been a priority, just in bettering myself as a whole.
And like, how long ago do you think that change kind of happened?
I started trying to hand hype off 2 years ago.
Keyword, started to try and hand it off.
I honestly did feel like, I'm going to stay around, I'm going to help, and I'm going to, but in the last season of my life, which has been the last 6 months, I have truly said yes to my family more and no to all the other obligations. And while I feel like, okay, maybe I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, I'm not everywhere that I used to be, I feel like everybody, that it's now their chance to stand up and shine and get the same opportunities. Like, I'm here, I'm a phone call away, but it took me a little while to be like, this is where I need to be. And everybody, I think, goes through those seasons in their life. You have to determine. When Brian went back to school the last 2 times, it was when we had newborns, both times.
Wow.
And I'm like, it was okay. We made it work. But after he fell and broke his arm a couple of months ago, and we went through a lot of like.
It was a couple months ago? I thought that was.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say, I think that was like a year ago.
Okay, so multiple months ago. It started to be like, I needed to be at home. He needed help with a lot of things, and it was not just. And our life as a whole has changed more in the last 12 to 24 months, probably. But it's been so good for us.
Random thought that just came into my head, or random question, I should say. How hard is it being a wife of someone who's in law enforcement? So I can only speak from my experience because I was a firefighter, and I know how stressful it was for my wife, and just that shift life and never knowing anything could happen, and like what's that like as a spouse of someone in law enforcement?
Well, I think when he was on the SWAT team, it was the hardest because people decide to get crazy like on the holidays and when it snows. All those times that you want your loved ones around you is when he'd get called.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, there's a gun, blah, 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 blah. Thank God I could call my older brother and say, can you please listen to the scanner, or let me listen to it while you have the phone on, just to know that, like, he's okay.
Yeah.
After that, when he came off the SWAT team after 10 years, it's been a lot easier.
Really?
The day-to-day of being an officer and moving up the ranks in management, we live in a great community. It's not like that elsewhere, necessarily.
Yeah.
But we live in a region where I think the officers here intend to try to do good work, and I think the community, for the most part, knows that.
I think it was so cool going to one of the last events last year at some point. I forgot what the last event I went to was, but I went to one of the events, and it's just like everybody knows your husband. It's so cool. Like, they have like a genuine like appreciation and like knowledge of who he is, and like just to see the interaction with the community is just like, it's just awesome. It's like it must bring him and you like such pride that like the people who you live in the same community as have that respect for him, and like that must, especially like for your mindset, must like clear your mind of that worry a little bit because you guys live in such a good community. It's
definitely. I will tell you, when we got married, he was not the one. He had a resting face that like people were like, this dude is a jerk. And it took him a lot of criticism and a long time to get to where people are like, okay, maybe he's not like that anymore. But all in all, he has worked really hard to get to where he likes the small town feel. Like, he could have gone a long time ago and made a whole lot more money somewhere else. But even still, with getting his master's, he's focused on the communities where he was brought up. And I'm like,
gotta respect it.
I can't. He told me when we got married, if you can't handle me going on calls and having to drop what we're doing, or the fact that I'm not in it for money, then we're not meant to be together. And he stood by that.
So he genuinely loves what he does.
Yeah, because he was a firefighter first. Like you said, he's all but at retirement age from firefighting. He stopped like, I think just under 2 years shy of being able to retire. I'm not sure that he's done. He's keeping up his certs and stuff, but yeah. We'll see.
That might take a little bit of convincing.
Yeah.
So I only got a couple more questions for you. What's been one of the proudest moments of your life, or what is the proudest moment of your life?
Oh, man. I can't necessarily pinpoint one. I think get like my husband and my child will say, Mom, like on a day when the four of us are in the car, we're happy, we're fed, we're healthy, and we're headed somewhere together. And I'm like, I love you guys. They're like, you getting all mushy on us. But like,
Stop.
We did buy my parents' house, and it has been a lot. But when we get to a place of peace and calm and normalcy, and we're all together, and it's like, oh my gosh, there might be harmony for 5 minutes. That's my, like, I'm telling you, I'm proud. I think often about my dad, and I'm like, I just know, like, he would be so proud of what we've created. I have that conversation with my mom all the time, and she loves my kids and loves our family, but all the things that we've gone through over the past 5 or 6 or 7 years, I'm telling you, it really drove my anxiety out the roof. Like,
really?
I suffered and still do to some extent with anxiety that just blew me away. And I don't hide it. I think it's so important to talk about. And I had a friend in the chamber world that was like, it's important to talk to people, right? So in doing so, I was able to identify that, there really are places in my life that I could improve. And having personal peace, knowing that exists, those are when I'm at my happiest, when I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm able to observe the beauty outside. I'm not looking at my phone, answering an email, on a Zoom call. I can remember being in Florida, being on a Zoom call when I had a newborn, and I'm like, that was a volunteer role. Time I was taking away from my family. And just trying to be more strategic about, absorbing those moments. Those are when I'm at my happiest. I'm most proud of the family and the life we've built,
That's so awesome. What, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self in college, after high school?
Not to go to that hairdresser and get dark brown that looked like black. I was the president of my sorority my senior year, and I will never forget going to a hairdresser down the road and thinking, oh yeah, I can pull off this dark brown with pale skin. I'm kidding. But that really did happen. If I could tell myself something, then it would be to move your body and to get sunshine, and to realize how much like what you put in is going to come out. It's how you feel, like getting that sunshine, getting that activity, and like really focusing on creating the day instead of letting the day just run me, because that's for so long, that's what I did, right? Like I got up and I just was on that hamster wheel, and it's great. But like at some point it runs you down, and it might be that, I'm okay. Right after Finley was born, I went back to CrossFit. I did a 5-minute max calorie row, and I sent myself to the hospital because I was dehydrated.
Oh my goodness.
Pulled my brother-in-law's sink off the wall trying to get my head under the spout at the gym. Like legit, that was when I realized I'm not taking care of myself. Like who in their right mind thought on the hottest day of the year that I was hydrated enough to walk back into this gym that was not air conditioned and do that kind of thing? That was when it was like, okay, light bulbs. There are things that will attack your body if you're not taking care of yourself. Oh
my gosh.
So, getting smacked in the face, basically.
Yeah, reality check.
You really have to take care of. You can do so much more when you take care of yourself, whether it be learning, education, making sure that you're doing all the things to keep yourself spiritually, mentally, wherever you need to be, reading the books, growing your mind. I just think getting out there and trying to impress people and do all the things and like not keeping up with the habits that keep your foundation where it needs to be. I wish I had done more of that in the beginning.
That's awesome. And then the last two things I got for you. What does the future hold for Catawba Insurance and just you in general?
Well, I would venture to say that Catawba Insurance hopefully will be around for another good many years. Finley's already saying, I can't wait to come work. And I'm like, oh, dear Lord.
Oh, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that.
Yeah, not ready for that. Thank you. I think the benefit in having 3 completely different kids that work there with completely different mindsets is that we could all branch out on our own. We could stay together. We could do our own thing. But the integrity of what Catawba Insurance is and will stay no matter what it turns into. So I expect it to be around, to continue to be around. Yeah. I would hope. I mean, I don't have any intention of going anywhere. I think Brian and I are both so community focused and oriented. We love being able to travel and see and do new things. But when you come back to the core, just like my dad, I like to come back home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the last thing. So we like to end every podcast on a positive note and more of a little bit of motivational. So to someone watching this who maybe they're feeling burnt out, maybe they're feeling, I don't know, fill in the blank. They're having a tough time in life, or maybe they are thinking of changing career paths, or whatever the case is. There's a million different examples. But what would be the best piece of advice in your own words to give to somebody watching this right now?
You got me. I told you. I said I didn't prepare for this. I don't know. I think that giving yourself levity, giving yourself a break, and knowing that nobody's perfect. Once I started incorporating humor, being around people that realize that, like, it doesn't all have to be perfect, like, neat little box. You know, life is meant to be enjoyed. It's like, what are you doing every day? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for a reason? Or are you just doing it because you think that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, bring some humor to it. Enjoy what you do, and find a way to do something that you love, because you're not promised. None of us are promised tomorrow, right? So I think that's the most important thing. If I were to tell my daughter, you know, I really think this is important, this is what you need to think about in the future, it would be, you know, you need to enjoy every day. You need to find something that makes you enjoy every day.
I love that. Absolute last thing. Social media for Catawba Insurance. Where can people find you? What's your website if people want to reach out to you and get a quote?
CatawbaInsurance.com, because there's just 2 words.
Boom!
Yeah. I am on Facebook, and Catawba Insurance is. So I'm actually Cameron Bixby. So it's own Facebook page, but that's only because I felt like I might want to share stuff my brothers might think was too girly. So I got.
So you have like an actual like a business.
I have a
page?
business page, yeah, for myself, and one for the agency. So
she's a celebrity. She's charging money for autographs. That's what she's saying.
That way, my younger brother would be like, "Quit putting pictures of the kids on Facebook," and I'm like, I'll just put them on my own Facebook page then. Like his kids, not my kids. Like, you're putting too many pictures of my kids on Facebook. I'm like, whatever, I'll put my kids and your kids on mine. So, yeah, that would be. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we're also on Main Street in Catawba.
Oh. Check them out. And I was going to say something completely different, but I don't know what I was going to end there with. Check them out. Hopefully they get you the best policy that works for you. But first off, thank you. Well, last thing, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being a friend.
Yes.
Thank you for, literally everything. You've helped me so much. And you're one of the people who've literally helped me kind of get, not only one of my first gigs, but you've connected me to so many different people. So thank you.
I'm excited for you.
Everything.
I'm excited to see what your future holds.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm excited. But out to the outro. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Very big shout out to Lake Hickory Pub Marina, where Lake and Life meet, for allowing us to shoot here. And lastly, to my friend, Cameron Bixby. But until next time, there's only one thing to do, and that's live, love, crush hate. We out.